We're not going to start until the music stops. Because they don't want me. Ooh, did you see the cookie place right across the street? Did anybody notice that? The cookie place. Ah, there are things we need to know about. Cookies being one of them. Now listen, while y'all wait for us to start the party, do know that we have a green basket being floated around the room. And we do want you to sign up to tell a story. Welcome, everyone. My name is Celestine Bloomfield, in case you forgot. And Storytelling Arts of Indiana and Freetown Village would like to welcome you to our Story Slam. Woo-hoo. Glad to see you. I haven't had my wine yet, but you know, we'll see how this goes. Welcome. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Maestro Organizing. I noticed he must be out there organizing, not my garage, mind you. But we'd like to thank him. And our sponsors, Storytelling Arts of Indiana and Freetown Village, as well as our media sponsor, WFYI. In case you have forgotten, our topic tonight, scams and Samaritans. Scammers and Samaritans. Okay, we're talking about people, okay? I know that you want to sign up and tell this story because what's going to happen is this. You're going to think that you don't have a story. Then all of a sudden somebody's going to tell a tale and it's going to remind you of something that happened to you. And when that does, Jen, raise your hand, wave it in the air. She'll give you a blank slip of paper. You can fill out your name. Your name will go in this lime green basket. I will call your name and you can come up and tell your story. Now, some of you are thinking, I don't want to do that. But let me tell you why you do. You will want to know that there are cash prizes. First place, second place, and third place prizes. You want the moolah. We will pay you tonight, okay? Might not be cash, might be this counterfeit $20 bill that somebody gave to me, but at any rate, you will be paid. Now, scammers, they're everywhere. And they tell me that because it's Amazon Prime Day, and I'm not trying to get them any business, that there will be more scammers today and yesterday than it was last week. And somehow they think little old people are the best target. But let me let you in on a secret. The ones who are losing their money are the millennials, okay? So we old folks got something to teach them. When somebody calls my house and tells me that my grandson needs to be bailed out of jail, and I say to them, baby, you know your granny don't do that. Because not only do I not have children, I do not have grandchildren. So I know right away that that's a scam. So put on your thinking caps. Think about the tale you want to tell. Remember, it's got to be 5 minutes in length or less. It should be a true tale. But unless I see your nose grow, how will I know that you made that up? Now, I'm going to tell you a real true story about scamming. They were scamming some of the poorest people on the planet Earth. Storytellers. They scammed me last year, tried to tell me that they wanted to pay me to come and tell stories at a wedding. I said, a wedding? Well, I've never done that. I've told stories in a lot of places, but a wedding? And I told them what my fee was, and they were so excited about it, and they wanted to send me the check right away. And I said, well, you know, you really don't have to pay me until after I tell the story. And then they called me back and said, you know, not only did we send you the check, but the person who was donating the storytelling wrote the check out for too much money. So when you get that check, you need to send us the rest of the money back. I said, oh, baby, I'm not going to do that. Not only did they contact me, but they contacted several other people on the Hoosier Storytelling directory. So I'm warning y'all, don't fall for the okie doke, okay? You cannot scam an honest person. You will not get something for nothing. And with that, let me reach into my lime green basket. Checks in the bottom of the basket. Woo-hoo. But the first name I pulled out, oh, I know this is gonna be good, is Peg Black. And Peg came all the way from Lafayette. Come on, girlfriend. It's because you voted it. It's the folded. It was folded.
Oh, it's folded.
All
right. I don't know. I'm not. But, hey, now I'm into it. Oh, now.
Just watch it.
I actually got away from the scam idea because I thought it was a scam before.
You're right. Or
So-
Samaritans.
So, okay, I got it.
I don't know
Okay.
no Samaritans.
Well, I do. I do. Okay, ready to go? Let's see. I live in an apartment that's in an old house. And I love it because that's my kind of place. But it's old, so it has problems. And one of those problems occurred about a month ago, just around the time of the story storm here. And if you'll remember, it was pretty hot those several days back then. And I was having troubles with my fans. I don't do AC, I do fans. And my main room working. So my friend Kathleen said, well, maybe it's blocked because I got it turned wrong. So I picked it up and turned it. Couldn't get it to work. I was getting so hot and so frustrated. It was a good thing it was Story Slam night because Chap showed up about then, and I knew it'd be cooler in his car than it was going to be in my house. So I was really glad to come. Outside of the fact it was coming to the Story Slam, which was a great idea. So we got here, we had a good time, and then afterwards I went, no, I still have to go back to that yucky old hot house. But in the meantime, I had kind of mentioned this to Chap, and he said, well, maybe I can come in and see what's wrong. And I said, well, that's a great idea if you're okay with it. And when we got to my place, he came in and checked it, and we went in there and we checked the extension cord, make sure it was all right, picked up the little plugs, things, and turned them, plugged in the fan, and voila, air, oh, great, that was a lifesaver. Thank you, Chap, a real Samaritan. And then at the end of that month, I had a power outage in my area, and everything went out, but didn't stay out long. And when it came back, I thought I'd reset everything until I went to do my supper in my microwave. No microwave, wasn't working, so I tried it several times. No, not doing anything. So I unplugged it a couple times, replugged, and I still didn't get anything. My friend Kathleen to the rescue. She said she was buying a new microwave. Did I want her old one? I said, okay, sure. So she brought it over. We set it in, we plugged it in. Nothing. Nothing happened. Okay. That probably meant I was going to have to talk to the landlord. But Kathleen says, oh, why don't you try the fuse box in the bottom in case something went out? So I tried nothing. And she said, well, must be the outlets themselves. That meant I was going to have to call the landlord. Didn't want to do that. So I noticed at that time, I just happened to, that my refrigerator was not working either. That's on the same kind of, I was so upset. I was just, growling about the thing. What am I going to do now? I was talking to one of my friends, another friend, Karen. I'm saying, hey, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to clean out the whole fridge. They can't tell if it's fixed or not if I don't. So she said, I'll come over and we'll clean it out. And she did. Bless her heart. She came over. In a couple of hours, we had that thing cleaned out. And we plugged it in again. No dice. So I knew I was going to have to call the landlord. I really didn't want to do that. So I thought, well, maybe in the meantime, I'll calm down. I'll go to church with my friends, Karen and David. And David, who was Karen's husband and a friend of mine too, said, well, maybe he could come over after church and, bring an extension cord. We could plug in the refrigerator to another outlet. So I said, well, it's worth trying. So he came over and he decided before he plugged in the outlet that he would try the extension and he would also try the outlet. And he looked at the outlet and he saw this little button. Pressed the button. Hey, presto, refrigerator. And I put the microwave in. That worked. It was a reset button. If I had, rats. Anyhow, I could have saved all the problems, but they were there. They came for me, and they were good Samaritans. That was Kathleen, Karen, and David, and I have another name for my good Samaritans, good friends.
Thank you, Peg. It's always nice to have good Samaritans in our lives.
Amen.
I was trying to think of some good Samaritans. I'm gonna have to think a little harder. I know some. It's just been a while. That's all I gotta tell you about it. But I know that Noel Bewley is gonna bring a heck of a story onto the stage to tell us either about a scammer or a good Samaritan, or maybe one of each. You never know. So Noel, come on up.
Okay, in 1986, I was on my second year of being insane about windsurfing. I'm a teacher, spring break came, and I decided to take a trip by myself. I loaded my boards at 5 o'clock in the morning and headed to Lake Lanier, just north of Atlanta. I got up so early because I wanted to be there so I could windsurf before dark. And I made it. I unloaded my boards at Van Pugh Beach. That's where all the windsurfers were. I could see them out in the lake. I didn't speak to anyone. I got on my board and took off with the fastest, longest, wildest ride I ever had on a windsurfer. I was used to Eagle Creek, and at this place, I probably went back and forth to Eagle Creek 4 or 5 times in that one long run. White caps, bouncing off of the waves. It was incredible. And then I thought, there's a problem. Everybody else is going the other way, toward the beach. And I looked up and there's some black clouds out in front of me. So I better turn around. But if you've never taken lessons in windsurfing like me, I didn't believe in lessons, turning around became a problem. So I started to turn around and a big gust of wind hit me and knocked the sail into me and threw me way off the board. In the 86, I did not have to wear a life jacket because I was on a flotation device standing there. So I swam back to the board, I crawled up, got on my knees, got on my feet, grabbed the uphaul, pulled it up, the wind hit, flung the sail around, knocked me off again, and I repeated this over and over and over again until I had cramps in my feet, cramps in my hands, cramps in my arms. I laid down on the board and looked toward the beach. No one was there. No cars, no people, nothing. And then I looked up in the air, it was lightning. And I didn't, no point pulling this 16-foot pole up for a lightning rod. So I took the universal joint, and that's what connects the board to the mast, and I threw it off, and I laid on my belly, and I just started paddling with the wind. And I paddled, and I paddled, and I stopped and rested, and I paddled more, and I finally reached the beach. But I had no idea where I was, because I was nowhere near that beach. So I rested a while, walked out to the road, which was a little distance away, and looked down, there was a sign with an arrow, Van Pue Beach, that way. So I had to go get my 12-foot, 50-pound board, pick it up, and carry it to the road, and start tramping back to my car. No idea where, how close it was or anything. Truck pulls by, stops, backs up, asks me what I'm doing. And I said, I'm going to Van Pue Beach. He said, that is a long way from here. Throw your board in the back of my truck, and I'll take you there. So I did, and I told him my sad story. And he said, well, let's stop at the marina. We'll get my boat and go try to find the rest of your gear. And so we did. We made big circles in the lake, found my sail and my mast, didn't find my boom. When he stopped me at my car, he drew a picture of just a map. This is where the windsurfing shop is near here. Tomorrow you can get some new gear, and you better take a lesson on what to do in a storm. I did exactly that. It cost me money, didn't get to windsurf anymore, but 10 years later, I had to use that lesson in another storm, which also tells you there are good Samaritans and they cannot overcome stupid. So thank you very much. That's my...
Wow. I am so glad you made it back. That's terrible. Now, did that jog anybody's memory? Anybody's great sales? Do you need, Janice, do you need her to give you a blank slip so you can fill out your name to talk to us about either a scammer or a Samaritan? Well, listen, Tuesday, July 23rd at 7 p.m., hear our stories. The life and afterlife of incarceration will be at the Storefront Theater of Indianapolis, 2416 East 55th Place. On Friday, August 9th, now I really need to build this up. At 7 p.m., the 15th annual Liars Contest will be at the Indiana State Fair. Now listen, we don't let children use that kind of language, but there is a category for adults and a category for children for the Liars Contest. And all summer long, I've been telling the kids they can come and participate in the Liars Contest. And I want you to know that they give prizes. $100 first place, $75 second place, $50 third place. I hope those amounts are right. But yeah, you get money. But come on down and tell us a tall tale just like tonight, 5 minutes or less. We've got a timekeeper, and you got to tell it in the first person, and we ought to believe you. Now on Saturday, August 3rd, August 10th, August 17th, August 24th, we're starting another storytelling mentoring program for individuals of color at the Indiana Historical Society, and it's not too late to sign up. So go to the Storytelling Arts website and sign up. Let's teach you a few things. Wednesday, August 21st at 7 p.m. is our next Story Slam, and it will be at the Blind Owl Brewery, 5014 East 62nd Street. I've been meaning to go into that establishment. I don't know what the topic is yet, but you'll tell me before the day is over.
Fight or flight?
Fight or flight? I'm a peaceful person. I could tell one of those stories. But anyway, I got another teller here. And here's our lime green bucket. And she's going to collect some more names. But right now, Chap Flack is going to come on up and tell us some stories.
So I had some idea as soon as the theme was announced how delicate some stories might be on this theme. And I've learned more about that. Because have I got a story on this theme? I've got a story, it's with everything. Scammers and a Samaritan. And I didn't know the scammers. My connection was to the Samaritan and the scam-e. Both of whom I've been out of touch with for a long time, but because of both my fury at the scam and my wonder at the Samaritan, I have been burning to tell this story for close on 40 years. Held back only by the possibility that, is telling it going to possibly embarrass or expose someone to re-traumatization. Like, I don't believe there's anything discreditable about being scammed, but I'm not the one whose feelings really matter in this case. But it's been so long. I heard the theme announced, and as soon as I remembered this story, there was no other story that I wanted to work up for this theme. And I figure after nearly 40 years, this has to be enough distance. Got to be okay to tell this story. Plus, I don't know how to get in touch with those people anyway. But of course, there's Google now. And so just last night, it occurred to me that, I really should at least try. And I did not find how to get in touch with the scam-e, but I was able to find the Samaritan. A quick email just before bed saying, I'm attending these story slams. I have this idea of telling this story. It's been long enough, right? It's okay to tell this. And I went to bed. And I woke up this morning and ran through the story a couple times in my head and saw that it was good. And got up and made my breakfast and sat down and opened my email where there was a reply that's probably best summarized as no. So I'm now kicking myself for having asked in the first place, because I could then plead ignorance and say, well, I went to the story slam, I didn't know any better, I told the story, but I can't do that now. Maybe I have to wait another 20 years or watch the obituaries or something before I can tell this story. Anyway, that's how I learned more about how delicate a scam and Samaritan story can be.
It is better to beg forgiveness than to ask permission. All right, we're getting more names in this basket. I keep trying to tell y'all when they get folded up. Thanks. That those are the ones I picked. But there's one on the bottom. Uh-oh. She's busy. But I know she'll put that camera down. Because Shannon Sampson has a story.
Thank you. So, if you know me, you know that I have a lot of eldest daughter energy. I have a really good credit score. I'm very responsible. I run a real tight ship, okay? So that's why, much to my shame and amazement, there was a security breach at my home, a real safety violation, if you will. And here's how it started. My sister wanted to come stay with me for Pride. She lives 2 hours north. And we were gonna go to the parade on Saturday, so Friday I needed to clean my house. And I kept putting off clearing off the dining room table. Now, I had vacuumed and I sprayed air freshener and I was burning candles to make it smell nice. And, I'd done everything else, but the dining room table is a different animal because no matter what you put on it, all those papers that you don't know what to do with, in the middle of the night, they mutate and reproduce, and suddenly there are more papers than you can ever go through in your life. So instead of cleaning off the dining room table, I said, I'll take the dog for a walk. And so I did. We just went for a little walk, and on the way back home, I saw two of my neighbors, and they were pointing to their ears because I had my headphones in listening to a podcast. And I thought to myself, are they gonna make me take my headphones out and listening to a good podcast? We're gonna small talk here. So I took my headphone out and I was like, hi guys. I said, I don't take my headphones out for just anyone. We small talked and I walked to my house. And then this is when I decided to further put off clearing off the dining room table. I was just gonna build a fire in the fire pit in the backyard and burn all that brush that I had been putting off and all those down tree limbs and all that stuff. So I did that. And I wasn't gonna leave the fire unattended because that would be irresponsible. So I sat in that backyard and I was watching the fire and the dog was running around and suddenly I feel this presence. And it's one of the neighbors I had just seen, it's Paul. And he goes, do you know that your smoke alarms are going off and there's smoke blowing out of your windows? And I said, well, as you can see, Paul, I have a fire back here and it must be going through the windows somehow, right? And so I said, all right, I'll go check it out. And I went inside and lo and behold, one of the candles I left burning on the dining room table had caught all those papers on fire. There was a real fire, 3 big plumage of flames. And I was like, oh my God, and the smoke was so thick. And so I grabbed this towel that I wiped the dog's muddy paws off with and I smothered the fire. And then I had to run and get a ladder and try to get the smoke alarms to go off. And then there were embers burning on all these papers. And I had to get a bucket of water and put everything in the water and drown it before I could throw it away. But back up to when I discovered the fire and initially put it out. As soon as I got the flames out, my next thought was, go run and tell Paul he was right. So I was like, Paul, I run out the back and I'm yelling and he's halfway down the alley and I'm like, you were right, it was a fire. He's like, I'm glad I'm right. I'm not, he's like, I'm glad you're okay. He didn't really know what to say. I'm like, okay, I'm busy, there's a fire. And I think he was also thinking to himself, remember how smug you were about not taking your headphones out? Like, how's that working out for you now, Shannon? Like, I don't take my headphones out for just anyone, not even fire. Well, the joke was on me. So anyway, I was able to fix the table. Thank God for YouTube video. I was able to put some patching compound on that, and just at least smooth it out. And my sister painted the pattern. So the table will never be the same, but no one will ever notice because there's always a bunch of papers on it and no one will ever see. Thank you.
Bless his heart.
I know, right?
Oh. All right. We'll always take our earbuds out now.
I know.
Thank you. Well, now, has that joggled anybody else's memory cells? Is there anybody else who wants to sign up to tell a story? Now, how much is the first prize? Anybody remember? 50 bucks. Second prize is 25, and the third prize is 15. That would buy you a burger, okay? Oh, third prize is 10, sorry. It'll still buy you a burger. Not at McDonald's, but I'm sorry. At any rate, I forgot to tell you that our timekeeper is up front, and she didn't have to tell you that your time was up. But when you get to 4 minutes, she lets you know that you have a minute left. But we got another teller, and our teller is Donna Jones. There's still time to sign up and tell a story.
Yeah, but, well, first I'm going to say my birthday is in 7 days. And at that point, I will be 70 years old. So this story happened to me when I was 18. I had a buddy, Marlene, who was going to school in St. Louis at Washington University. And she had invited me to come see her. Now, I'm 18. I'm going to school in Vincennes, Indiana. So if you know anything about the state of Indiana, it's weird. And she's like, that way. So back then, this was my best friend whenever I was traveling interstate. I got a ride to Terre Haute, got a ride to St. Louis, spent the weekend with Marlene. She picked me up at the train station. Coming back, that's when I met my good Samaritans. Now, I am an 18-year-old young woman traveling alone with a backpack and a Bowie knife. There were these 3 older guys. At that point, they were probably in their late 40s, early 50s. 1 white guy, 2 black dudes. If you were my kid, I'd be kicking your ass being out here on this highway. You could get hurt, you could get killed, you could get robbed. They read me the riot act. And they were from Chicago. So Interstate 70 all the way to almost the Indiana state line until it was time for them to make that hard left and go back to Chicago. At which point they said to me, do you have any money? And I looked at them and I said, no. I'm traveling with a backpack and a Bowie knife. They gave me 20 bucks, put me out of the car, and said, you take care of yourself. I got another ride all the way back to Vincennes. I will never, ever forget those guys. Mostly because they kept reading me the riot act for the entire distance from St. Louis to the Indiana state line.
We all need good Samaritans. Anybody else got a story? I don't want to leave anybody out. What about this front table? None of y'all been scammed? None of you have a good tale to tell? Have you been a good Samaritan? I don't believe you. I was watching the news about the heavy rains in Vermont and Maine and saw one of my former students. Their neighbor's house had been swept downstream, but their house was full of mud and they were trying to see what they could salvage. But I know they had a lot good Samaritans there in, I always thought it was Peckham, Vermont, but it was Peacham, Vermont. And I'm waiting to see what happens. But I know I got some more storytellers out there, so don't be scared. But right now, Russell Ridgway is going to tell us a story. Come on down.
I used to be a pastor, not because I was in love with Jesus, but because I was a kid from a small town and grew up on the wrong side of the tracks and had a troubled home. And at church, I was getting some affection, some attention that I wasn't getting at home. And as I did that, that felt really nice, and home didn't feel really nice. And so I kept taking those steps. But all along the way, I had these questions. And I would ask ministers, I would ask youth sponsors, like, how could God, like, kill everyone in the world but 8 people? How could God only choose one race of people? How could God give us such rigid roles, whether it's gender or sexuality? How can that be? How can this God of love be someone with such strict confidence? Unfortunately, those questions were not enough to overcome my ego, because I was getting a lot of things that I wasn't getting at home. And so I just kept taking the next steps. And I got so involved at church, and my home was so bad, that there was a point, true story, I was grounded from church. I remember my stepfather telling me, he's like, you can do anything that you want. You can go wherever you want to go, but don't go to church. I followed those steps up until 2015. Following those steps led me to college in Knoxville, Tennessee, where I studied classical Greek, and I learned Old Testament Hebrew. And I began to ask those questions myself, and no one even then could answer them. But I was so deep into the career of being a pastor that I couldn't let go. I couldn't. And while that's tragic, I have to say, all along the way, I loved every single moment of the social work. Being a pastor led me to Knoxville, and it let me work in the inner cities of Knoxville, Tennessee, to work in Emerald Village, and to work at Lonsdale Elementary. And I got to take students into a bank and get them a small business loan, because we had taught them how to work with wood and to make bird houses. And I remember the day that they challenged me, and they said, hey, Russell, we live in the hood. We make bird houses. We make bird cribs. And we got them a loan for $500 to start a business. 2 guys, 1 girl, teenagers. And they started this business. That same pastoral position took me to Brownsville, Texas, and deep into Mexico, where I got to go into the Sierra Madres, and I'd spend hours just holding a flashlight for a dentist. It took me even further south in 2008 to the Yucatan Peninsula, where I got to work with people, and they kept saying, I don't know, I wasn't then, but they kept saying, you're the first European we've ever seen. I was like, I'm not European. I mean, not now. Originally, yeah, but not now, you know? And all along the way, all through those things, I kept getting a question when I would come back. And the question was always this: did you tell them about Jesus? People would come in that were hungry. They would come into the church, and I was the youth minister, so I always got the worst jobs, the lowest jobs, the jobs that no one else wanted to do. And someone would come in and they were hungry, and we had this pantry that's about the size of this room, and it's filled with food. And the message to me was, don't give them too much. And I always thought, well, what is too much? I mean, if they haven't eaten for 2 days, they get like one sandwich, but if it's 3 days, they get two. Like, what's the economy of being hungry? There were lots of other experiences all along the way, and I always had those questions. But in 2015, I was in Budapest, Hungary, and we had a refugee crisis there, and there were Afghanis, and there were Iraqis, and there were Libyans coming, and they were stationed right there in Budapest, Hungary, at Keleti train station. And I was down there taking water to them when there were only 9. And over the course of that summer, it grew to 6,000 and 7,000 people stuck in a train station with armored police surrounding them. And I'm there with my little security badge, going in and handing out water. And other people are as well. And as I'm looking around, I see barbers coming in and offering free shaves and haircuts. I see women coming in and doing manicures and pedicures. I see other people that are teachers that are doing things with the children. And I wonder about all of that, because I wonder this. I wonder on my darkest nights, because I was never truly a believer. Was I scamming those people? Was I a scammer for all of the good that I did in those moments? But then I think about this too, that there was a Samaritan there, that I was doing good, even if it's just holding a flashlight so that a proper dentist or a proper optometrist can help someone in need. And I watched a woman take her newborn baby into the bathroom and give her a bath in the train station bathroom sink. And I knew at that moment, for me, there's no God. There's not a God that could allow this. And so now, I do kindness just because I care. I do right, and I won't be persuaded from that. And at my brightest moments, I like to think that I'm a Samaritan. Thank you.
Wow, Russell, wow. Thank you so much. Did that inspire anybody at that front table to come on over here and tell me a story? Is there anybody else here who has a story about Samaritans or scammers? I'm waiting on y'all. Today? Listen, I think the power went out. I do want to thank the judges and the scorekeepers and the timekeeper, and I'd like to thank you for coming out. But I'd like to remind you of is there a short in this?
If you don't, try not to touch the plug where it plugs in. Hold
Okay.
it closer to the
Magic.
Yeah.
Tuesday, July 23rd, 7 p.m., Hear Our Stories, The Life and Afterlife of Incarceration at the Storefront Theater of Indianapolis, 2416 East 55th Place. And start working on your lies, because the Liars Contest is coming up Friday, August 9th at 7 p.m. in the Pioneer Village at the Indiana State Fair. And then if you would like to learn how to become a storyteller, so the Storyteller Mentoring Program for Individuals of Color, August 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th. It's not too late to sign up. and the class will be down at the Indiana Historical Society. But the best thing of all, Wednesday, August 21st, almost said October, the Indy Story Slam will be at Blind Owl Brewery. Say that 15 times fast. 5014 East 62nd Street. That's Benford Boulevard and 62nd Street. Now, I want to tell you now, you know they will not be done with the construction between Allisonville Road and Benford Boulevard. So you're going to have to go down Benford Boulevard to get to this. We got some more people? Oh, okay now. Okay. Da-da-da-da. Is it Chloe? Yay, Chloe.
Okay, there are no good Samaritans in this story. There's kind of a disgruntled 19-year-old. So I was working at a store, I won't name it. And this lady comes up through my tech lane. I was working checkout. And she's lugging a cart behind her and pushing one in front of her. And there are thousands of dollars of like vacuums and appliances in this. And I knew what she was doing. She was trying to get these items for free. And I'm checking her out. She's making small talk, being fairly normal. And suddenly she says to me, as I'm almost done with her entire transaction, "Oh my gosh, has anyone ever told you you are supermodel beautiful?" Now, if you're gonna lie to me, say something that I know is true. A supermodel, please. I flick my light on and get a manager over so quickly. And she starts scrambling. She's giving me fake credit cards. I know that they're fake. And she scurries out of the store. And I probably would have let her get away with it. It's not coming out of my paycheck had she not lied directly to me. Anyways, thank you.
I understand. Thank you so much, Chloe. If she had lied to my face, I might have let her get away with it. All right, that's just wonderful. Anybody else now? It's not too late. I don't have nothing to do. I haven't had any wine. Dan's collecting the yellow slips so we can harass you later on and let you know about our wonderful programming. But in the meantime, I have a no name. I have Stanley. I think it says Stanley. Do I have a Stanley? Stanley, come on down.
So in 2010, there was a major earthquake in Haiti, where I am originally from. And at the time, I was living in New York City. And so I've always dealt with this duality, being from one of the poorest countries in the world and having the privilege of living in the richest country in the world. And so I felt a sense of duty to do something. And so the airport was shut down and there's no way to get to Haiti. And so I heard of a rescue mission and I decided to join and go with them. And so they flew to next door Dominican Republic, rented a truck, got a bunch of supplies, and we started the drive from the Dominican Republic, from Santo Domingo to Port-au-Prince, about an 8-hour drive. And we were targeting a specific community because you have to understand that there is widespread devastation everywhere. can be really overwhelming. And so we targeted a specific community, and there was no way to contact them. Every communication line was down. And so we hoped we would find them when we got there, but we didn't know for sure. There was no way to tell them we were coming. There's no way for them to contact us and tell us what they need. But we just figured they would need basic food, water, toiletries, things that people need that have experienced a recent earthquake. And so we crossed the border. We were able to get to them. We had the address, and they were overwhelmed with gratitude when they saw us. And this is the part about being a good Samaritan. Because they were shut in and had a limited supply of food, the day before we got to them, they had to make a very important decision. Some of the group wanted to keep the food that they had for themselves because they realized that we don't have enough food for the rest of the week. We only have food for a couple of days. But the other half of the group there said, if we say we are Christians, then we need to share with our neighbors. And they were in major conflict the day before the truck got to them. And at the end of their discussion, the group that wanted to share with the neighbors prevailed. And so they took that step and they said, we're going to share with the neighbors because that's what God asked us to do, even though we don't know where food is coming next. And then the next day, the truck showed up with food for months.
Stanley, that was wonderful. Like my grandmama would say, look at God. Just look at God, okay? Listen, is there anybody else? Because we don't pay these people. They come here with their own free will and donate their time. We won't even buy them a Coke, okay? So, and we'd like to thank them for coming and being our scorekeepers and our judges and our timekeepers. And I hope you had a good time. Is there anybody else who has a story about scammers or Samaritans? Okay, there are a few people still working on it. Well, we're just gonna take them home and hold them hostage, so it's okay. I gave away 2 books last month instead of 1. I was supposed to say, I guess I could give you the one I have in my garage. I have extras. Listen, don't forget, our topic for next month is
Fight or flight?
fight or flight. You know, look at me. Do I look like I'm gonna run anywhere? But I don't even have my cane with me to defend myself. I usually don't have problems with people messing with me because I still have that, you know how your mama used to look at you and you would stop in your tracks? Don't work on kids nowadays. But if I could, that's what I would do. Well, now our judges are tallying the results. I don't know who has the results, who they're going to give them to. Are we done? No, they're still working. No problem. Well, let me remind you one more time. Blind Owl Brewery is our next session on Wednesday, August 21st. Listen, I know I knew some good Samaritans once upon a time. I don't remember them. It's just been too long. No, that's not true. I just had a birthday last Wednesday. And all my good friends and family treated me to the day, and I had a good time. Thank you very much. Thank you. Like my friend Helen Whitego used to say, it's better to be seen than viewed. And I'm glad to be viewed today. I'm seen today. At any rate, don't forget, work on your liars contest entry. Now, I would listen to Doc McConnell talk about, he was down at Jonesboro, Tennessee at the Storytelling Festival, and he would talk about how his grandfather grew corn, and one year it was so hot that summer that the corn in the fields started popping. And it popped so hard and so fast that the wind took it and blew it over into the next pasture where the cows were standing. And the cows thought it was snow, and they started shivering. And when the farmer went to go out to milk them cows, they gave ice cream. That's Doc McConnell. That's his story. Are we ready now? Okay. We're going to collect all of the yellow slips.
I would like to point out the youngest table is the slowest.
What y'all been drinking at that table? You need one too? Thank you.
We don't carry pins.
Noel, did you have another story you wanted to tell? I saw your hand go up, Noel. Did you have another story? We're waiting for the results. We're going to read them. Don't forget to go out and support the rest of the activities going on in the city.
We're going to be announcing our season soon in August.
In August, we'll have our season lineup. We'll let you know. I expect to see you. All right. Our third place winner is Donna Jones. Our second place winner is Noel Bewley. First place winner is Stanley. We love you, Stanley. Listen, if those winners would come up, we'll take your pictures, and I got the checks in my pocket. I want you to know, if you go to the Indiana Landmarks on Thursday, July 18th, that's tomorrow, Conversations in Indiana, African American History and Culture, it's going to be about Green Lawn. Green Lawn Cemetery was the first burial ground of Indianapolis. And if you've been listening to them doing the excavation for the soccer stadiums, you've been listening to them talk about some of our first citizens, especially African American citizens, that were buried in Green Lawn Cemetery. And this will be a great session to attend. Our speaker will be historian Leon Bates. Wonderful speaker, wonderful speaker. All right, come on up. Let me take your pictures. Thanks for coming. Oh, 7 p.m.? Sorry, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. tomorrow.